Will President Biden experience any major foreign policy successes during his term? How many people, including from the liberal end of the political spectrum, actually think Biden is making any of the foreign policy decisions in his administration? Rather, the behind-the-scenes scenario likely involves veterans of the Obama era continuing the work of 4 years ago, while Biden takes nap until he has to read another speech prepared by some aide. As usual with this administration, none of this comes as a surprise, as Obama and even Biden himself have not so subtly referred to this presidential term as a continuation of Obama's too. With this in mind, it appears extremely unlikely that Biden will have any significant successes on the world stage, unless you count re-entering the Iran nuclear deal, giving more of America's money and resources to our allies, without anything in return, and turning a blind eye to China's increasingly aggressive efforts to shift the balance of world power as successes. It is unfortunate that the majority of the American public probably wasn't even aware of the G7 summit this past weekend. Had they tuned in, they hopefully would have been disturbed by the overly cozy and hypocritical behavior exhibited by the leaders of the world's richest and most powerful countries. These fully vaccinated individuals socially distanced themselves from one another while outside for a photo op on Cornwall's scenic coastline, but once inside they dropped the virtual signaling and rubbed shoulders as in normal times. Optics aside, the supposed agreements among the countries seem explicitly designed to counter the America First policy of the Trump administration. The decision to raise taxes on U.S. corporations in foreign countries is in stark contrast to Trump's attempts to protect American innovation from unfair targeting, including the very tech companies that are no friends of Trump's. Additionally, the group failed to agree on a strong condemnation of China's role in the pandemic or its history of human rights abuses. We certainly know where Trump and other conservatives stand on this, and he likely would have sought a statement firmly denouncing China, similar to his prior forceful dealing to get NATO members to pay more towards that alliance. Meanwhile, throughout the deliberations this weekend, Biden didn't seem to have much of a presence, which was more than obvious during his several gaffes, including confusing Libya with Syria multiple times and growling in anger at a reporter's question. Will Biden be able to replicate any of Trump's foreign policy successes, such as overhauling the trade deal America has with Mexico and Canada and facilitating the normalization of relations between Israel and several Muslim-majority countries? Biden's aides will try, but those attempts will only be a continuation of the status quo of the past 2 decades, in which America focused more on engaging in millennia-old religious conflicts halfway around the world than on its crumbling society at home, and pumped more money it doesn't have into Europe and Asia than in the aftermath of World War II. If we are to truly find success abroad, it starts with citizens truly taking an interest in how our leaders represent our interests abroad. Our fortune and generosity must not be taken advantage of, and we should no longer accept one-sided deals only made for political purposes. What do you think? Will President Biden experience any major foreign policy successes during his term? Vote now at pollred.com.